Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I just want to thank Joe and Katia for inviting me along. Very big crew of people. I wasn't expecting such a big organisation, but well done everyone for creating a nice community around interaction design. So I'm just going to, I've got about 15 minutes, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story and a couple of projects that I left my full-time job for a couple of years ago. So Tree Farm and Makerspace, they're very well aligned because the founders of both projects are the same founders. So we are really into community-driven design by non-designers. So where did I start? I grew up in St. Clair. I went to St. Clair High. My first job was at KFC. I had a passion for creativity. I attended Enmore Design Centre, and at the time I was working casually at a print shop that turned into a fabrication and design. We did point of sale displays. My boss convinced me to quit my diploma and work for him full time, so I did that, and I don't regret it. I learned so much in the 8 years that I worked there. I was the production manager, so I was kind of like the meet between the designers and the client and the client service managers. But I learned a lot. I got to work with designers, and they think everything is possible. I got to work with the makers. They think everything is impossible. But yeah, I learned a lot. So yeah, we would make things like this. We would do graphics that would stay up for about 24 hours for sales. And when you're making this stuff, you're making a lot of it at a really short deadline. It's very stressful. And you're using solvent inks, and most of the time polypropylenes and PVCs, polyurethanes. They're really nasty materials, right? And so you go and install them at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then they take them down at 6 p.m. at night. And I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of wasteful, right? And it kind of got the better of me. And my boss there, Greg, he was my mentor, I went in there and I'm like, something's missing. I really love my job, I love you guys, I love what I do, but something's missing. And I was pretty much sick of busting my butt for the high-end retail and fashion industry and seeing a lot of stuff go to waste. So I realised that waste had an economic value. And the two co-founders of Makerspace and Tree Farm, Grace Turtle and Yasmin Smith, we all worked together. And what we would do is we would collect this board. It would be most of the time foam cores and PVCs, which is actually quite expensive when you're at college. And we would sell it to college students, much to the craftspeople's disgust. But we'd sell it for like 50 cents, just because we kind of felt guilty about all this waste, but also we needed to make a bit of dosh. Then we realised that these offcuts, when you marry the offcuts with digital fabrication, you can actually make some pretty amazing stuff by using free software. The one in particular we used was Autodesk 123D Make. So we started making really awesome objects with it. And we kind of had an epiphany. We were like, anyone can do this. This is easy. You don't have to have a design background to do this. And I think digital fabrication enables people to be makers who wouldn't normally consider themselves makers. So a form of digital fabrication is 3D printing. And so we would muck around on the automatic cutting machines. And then we found out about 3D printing, and a penny dropped. Especially for me, I kind of saw it as a potential to be a great equalizer. It democratizes manufacturing. It's the opposite to subtractive manufacturing, so you're only adding material. Can I just get a show of hands of who knows what 3D printing is? Cool. I've done a good job at teaching you about that. That's good. I'll skip through the couple of slides that explain it. So what we did, we bought a 3D printer and it arrived in April 2013. So we would go around and run community workshops. The first thing we ever did is we went to a pub with a 3D printer and just set it up. And we just wanted to, we didn't really know what we were going to do with the thing, but we knew that we wanted out and we wanted to do something around digital fabrication. So we just talked to people and we'll find out how much they knew about it. At the time, it was kind of emerging. I mean, technology's been around for 30 years, right? But it was emerging because it became accessible. And yeah, so we talked to people would ask us all the time, do you print guns? No, do you? Some people knew a lot about it, some people knew nothing about it. Our little old granny was actually quite scared of the machine. And it is a little bit like a microwave, and things appear out of it, but it's amazing technology. So we've kind of been coined as the 3D printing chicks, but that's not all we do. What our mission is we want to connect people with knowledge and tools to create change, make change, physically make change objects. So we link sustainability, social design and technology through craft, technology and social design. But what we do is we go and educate, and we're focusing a lot on design thinking for problem solving, and using digital fabrication as the tool to do so. So just a little bit on the revolutions. We would sit in Grace's living room and drink lots of wine and talk about Jeremy Rifkin. Can I get a show of hands if you know if you know Jeremy Rifkin? A couple. Okay, so look him up. Amazing. He's an economist and a futurist, and he's got a bunch of theories. And he's got a book called The Next Industrial Revolution. So we talk about this stuff. And just what the diagram is showing you is that we're talking about 3 industrial and communication revolutions here. The first one was, we're all working in farms, the cottage industry. And that's when we were printing newspapers and when we had a literate workforce. And then what society is we moved everyone from the countryside into the cities, and we became hooked on crude oil and mass production and assembly lines. And at the time there was a communication revolution happening, and the telephone, radio and TV came out. So at the moment we're at the crux of which is emerging the 3rd industrial revolution. So this is lateral power distribution, decentralization of industry. This is happening through renewable energy, internet, collaborative workforces, co-working spaces, information sharing, and ecologically conscious industrial design and manufacturing, i.e. 3D printing. 3D printing is the idol for the next industrial revolution. So everything we do, we focus on these 5 trends, and we're really fascinated by them. We do a lot of research into them, and when we talk to people, we tell them about them because we think that everybody should know about these trends because they're going to impact a lot of things in your day-to-day life. So there's all of a sudden a big move to collaborate over compete, which I love, to be honest. There's the open source movement, which is enabling knowledge sharing and really rapid improvement on designs. There's the maker movement, which is an interesting one because it's a little bit like the arts and crafts movement that happened in the 30s. But the maker movement is a real thing. People who have been makers their whole lives probably aren't really a fan of it, but it serves a great purpose in getting people who don't think they're creative into creative activities. And what is really happening is that they're learning how to solve problems, and the more people who know how to solve problems, the more problems they're going to solve. And then commercial cohabitation, co-working, and tactile urbanism. So So there's a couple of things for you to go and do some research about.
So what's tactile urbanism?
Kind of like guerrilla activating of spaces. So if there's a dead space, you put the creatives in there, you put the artists in there, and then everybody else comes. Gentrification.
What do the makers make in the maker movement? Catcalls or?
They're making many different things. I mean, there's a festival called the Maker Fair, and it's a worldwide festival. It's huge in San Francisco and New York. And they're making anything. They're making kinetic sculptures, they're making things from electronics, they're upcycling, 3D printing is very popular. People are making wearable technology, and we're talking people, like just everyday people, you know, who are getting into this. So yeah, Maker Fair, have a look at that. There's a Maker Fair that happens in Sydney. It's a mini Maker Fair. And yeah, you've got some grassroots groups, that are participating in it. So makers is a very broad term. Everybody's a maker. Everybody makes food. Everybody makes love. But when I say maker, I'm talking about people who are making something with their hands with an outcome. So this is just a little stat from USA Today, is that makers pump $29 billion into the economy each year. These people need somewhere to create stuff. And I mean, unless you're a part of an organisation or a company where they have the tools and equipment for you to do it, it's a very expensive mission. If you want to get into 3D printing, you could go and buy yourself a 3D printer and then discover that it is the most frustrating technology to learn because it's new. Or you could go to a space, a maker space, pay a membership, have a go at it, and then realise that maybe this is not for me. But maybe I'll have a go at the laser cutter that they have, or maybe I'll have a go at the sewing machine that they have. So I guess a maker space, there's also a thing called a hacker space, which is kind of scarier. But a maker space is a bit more welcoming. A maker space is also just an artist studio, your grandfather's back shed, that sort of thing. But it's been coined as a maker space, so there's a definition there on the wall. But I guess what it entails is that it's a shared space. It's part of the sharing economy. It lowers the barrier entry for entrepreneurs. They don't have to go and put in all this capital investment into the equipment. The makerspace will do it for them. So I have a particular interest in makerspaces. So who's onto it? Fab Foundation is a fab lab is another word to describe this sort of thing. They have a massive focus on digital fabrication, so machines that make for you. There's 300 of them around the world, and they're quite remarkable, the type of innovation that are coming out of these spaces. I went to America, and I was lucky enough to see a Fab Lab and a couple of makerspaces. There's a makerspace in San Francisco and in about 8 other places around America called Tech Shop, and they're like the Rolls Royce of this sort of thing. They have metal fabrication, they have textiles, they have digital, they have a paints section, they have every kind of tool you can imagine. And some really amazing products have emerged from Tech Shop. So this product, the Square, the product's called Square, is an electronic payment system designed by Jack Dorsey. It's a small adapter that plugs into your device. And the company just secured a $10 million capital investment. So Jack Dorsey didn't buy himself a CNC router or a 3D printer to make this. He just became a member of the Makerspace Tech Shop. So this is the Embrace infant warmer. It's designed for extreme affordability. another product that's come out of Tech Shop. So the infant warmer is an innovative product that costs less than 1% than the traditional incubator. The designers hope to combat the issue of global infant mortality, and they're doing a really good job at it. Something I learned up at a festival in Melbourne, that in 2014 the rate of infant mortality had been the lowest it had ever been in history, and I think these guys might have something to do with it, and that came out of Tech Shop. Some cases I just think they're really cute. They're customisable do case, and they're for your Kindle, iPhone, iPad. So they make them, they didn't just prototype this product there, they still make them there, whereas the other two companies prototype their products, cancelled their membership, and then had to go to their own large workshop. We've founded a makerspace in Leichhardt as a part of an initiative to renew the Italian Forum. It's a very interesting space to have a makerspace in around all these Italian restaurants, but it's been great for us. Makerspace is a non-for-profit initiative that was funded and founded by 3Fund, and now we're a standalone. We're run by a committee and volunteers. So we launched this soon after I came home from the States, which was good timing because I learned a lot. So we have members there that use the space to prototype an invention, to fix broken things. We have a retired guy who just wants to keep up with technology and hand on his skills to younger people. We've got designers making shoes. We've got lots of different things happening. So the tools that we have, we've got some microcontrollers, 3D printers, soldering irons, clay throwing wheels, vinyl cutter, you can see it all there. Laser cutter coming soon. We get people coming in the doors and saying, "Do you have a laser cutter?" We say no, laser sleeve. So it's coming soon. Okay, so a couple of things that we're featuring in our makerspace. So this is a work in progress. I took this photo today. It's the Open Materials Library, because we believe that makers have to use materials, but they should be making the right choice, and they should be making informed choices. So what the concept of this library is that anybody can add their favourite material to the wall, but we want you to rate the impact. We want you to rate the environmental, the social, and the economic impact. And if you don't know how to do that, that's okay, because we have a booklet that tells you how to do it. So it's just trying to create awareness around where things come from and where things go. So before you go and invent the most amazing new invention that you're going to get thousands made, you are thinking about the materiality first. So that's a work in progress. So if any of you have a favourite material and you want to show us and tell us about it, it's crowdsourced, so send me a line or come and add it to the wall. So some projects that are happening in the space. So this is our project wall. So sometimes we get asked to do commercial projects, which gives our members opportunities to work on paid jobs. Sometimes we get asked to do community projects. And we really want to move into working with people with disability, because we think 3D printing is just such a rapid way to solve problems. You know, if somebody has just trouble putting a toaster on, then we can make something that makes their life easier very quickly. So this is a future projection. So some of the projects that are happening at the moment is that it's led by one of our members, and he calls upon a group of the other members to come and help him. So we've got a big 3D printer. Apparently it's going to print a house. We have a desktop plastic recycler. So with all of our waste 3D printing plastic, we're grinding it back down and turning it back into filament to print with. We have a robot that will thank you for donating to us and tell you that you're a cheapskate if you put 50 cents in. We have a Skillshare wall project, which is being developed at the moment. This is where members can find each other and find out what skills they have so they can swap them, an hour for an hour. We have a RFDI system, so swipe cards to get into the building. Somebody wants to make some thermal solar for winter, materials library, and we've got a new member who's printing some prosthetics for a kid, I think it is. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff happening. So these are just some pictures of what people make. So I make vinyl stickers on the vinyl cutter that I put on the windows. Lauren makes shoes. So Lauren's story is pretty good. She really wanted to work for Shoes of Prey, Australian design company. But they said, show me, she went in to meet them and they're like, show us your shoes. She was like, oh, I've never made any. So she came to us and she printed a whole range of shoes. And she went back in there and was like, here's my shoes. And she got the job. And Shoes of Prey have just moved to LA, so we haven't seen Lauren in 3 weeks. Matt Wilson, he's amazing. He's got so many different talents and he can talk a lot. But it's quite interesting most of the time. He dropped my printer. But the beautiful thing is that he knows how to fix it. So it works again, thank God. This is a little preview of the workbench where the 3D printers are. So we started with one printer. We have 5 printers now, and they've all been donated or lent to us in 4 months, which I think is just, I feel so humbled by that, you know. And this is the part where I was going to explain to you guys what 3D printing is, but you already know. But I feel like as designers all in the room, it's definitely a space to watch. This is some hardcore statistics. If this was a line graph and I was comparing it to how PC grew back in the early 90s, 3D printing would trump it. So it's had a crazy growth of 29% in 1 year. So I'll let you read that for yourselves. So if you're wondering what products you should help designers with or design yourself, have a look in the healthcare and the aerospace industries, because that's where the highest growth is predicted. So the world demand for 3D printing is projected to rise more than 20% per year to 5 billion in 2007. A couple of other tips. Think, test, bake, play. Yeah, that's all from me tonight, but you can find out more here. And yeah, like Joe said, we're looking for volunteers, so.
Thanks, Mel. That's great. We got our whole. I didn't know we were going to get the whole history of industrial design in 3 seconds. That's great. What we have now is we've got a very quick round of shout-outs. So if you're a recruiter, if you're an organization who's looking for some design talent, yeah, it's on. Join the queue over here. You're going to have 30 seconds. So Mel's already had her first go. Hopefully we'll be able to...